All right, joining us in the studio is a public affairs analyst, Bola Oba. Thank you so much for joining us. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
You're
welcome.
All right, let's begin from that alarm that was raised by Taraba Governor Darius Ishaku, which was about less than a week ago. They had intelligence that in less than 10 days there would be attacks, and less than 24 hours the attacks happened.
True.
What do you think is responsible for the vulnerability of that particular area of the country, the North Central? From Benue to Taraba, it's been a harvest of deaths.
A number of factors. A number of factors, to be very honest with you. And the factors are as far as Tripoli, Libya. The fall of Gaddafi actually led to the proliferation of small arms across the Sahara area of Africa. And you must remember that northern part of Nigeria borders on Niger, Chad, and whatever, and a number of miscreants, a number of never do good dwellers, who once found camp in Libya under Gaddafi, being trained to be used for his delusional grand army of Africa. A number of them are now spread across the countries. Many of them who happen to be Muslims are now bastardizing the good name of the good faith. That is number one. Number two is ecological and environmental. I once had the honor about 14 years ago, indeed about 16 years ago, of relating quite well enough with Chief Newton Jibuno. I think you guys should have him in the studios. And this is a man.
Yes.
Who, as a youngster,
he has crossed the Sahara.
Who, as a youngster, when he graduated from college in England in the 60s, literally drove from London to Lagos,
drawing attention to the issue of climate change and desertification.
When he became 70,
yes,
he also gathered some people and literally drove again from Kano to London, England. I was honored to be amongst those who received him, and I was still living in England then, and you could see the juxtaposition, the utter devastation of environmental assets across the Sahara. The body of water, Lake Chad. Many people listening to us this morning may not know that Lake Chad has shrunken by about 65 to 70% of its global size. These ecological factors are now leading to communal conflicts. And you must remember that pasturing is still largely done in the most primitive of manners, as our pastoralists do it. You know, being nomadic or itinerant. Look, animal management is no longer done that way. You don't get good value from those cows because come to think of it, the collateral business opportunities are lost out on when you manage herds that way. You can imagine a cow being literally driven or being literally pushed to walk thousands of kilometers. Loses nutrients, loses energy, the beef is not ultimately good for consumption, you understand? The collateral business opportunities like the dairy end of it is not maximized.
So this is not a political issue, it is purely economic.
We are getting to the political.
Okay.
The economic naturally gives birth
to the political
problems.
Okay, yeah, still looking at the economic aspect of it, many have called for the need for construction of ranches instead of this primitive way of, of rearing cattle. And then
you mean cattle colonies?
Not ranches, first off, before I get to colonies. Even the former military president, Ibrahim Babangida, said so in the letter now that he has backed up that there is need for ranches really across the country instead of allowing herdsmen to carry their cattle around. But instead, we are hearing the federal government saying that the way to go is to create colonies.
let's be very fair to the federal government. Somebody got insensitive and so out of touch with the mood of the nation, and that person fell into the trap of using that terminology or nomenclature of cattle colony. What they actually mean is an aggregation of ranches in a particular area, and somebody who is insensitive, who is somewhat distant from reality.
Indeed. All right, we still have Bola Oba in the studio with us to talk more about the incessant killings, especially in the north central. Of course, suspected Fulani herdsmen have been said to be the perpetrators of those dastardly acts there. Benue, Taraba, Nasarawa, and even Adamawa State at some point. So thank you for holding on. Yeah, we were exploring the economic aspect of it. Yes.
Now, imagine an aggregation of ranches between Lagos and Ogun. Cumulatively, the two states, almost 30 million people.
Yes.
Obviously, they'll be doing between, say, 10 to 15,000 heads of cattle
every day.
Every day. Now, it is said that when the Redeemed Christian Church is having its global this thing that they do every December, that instead of 10,000 heads of cattle consumed in Lagos every day, it gets to as much as 20,000. If that were to be processed in a ranch with abattoir or abattoirs, bones will be gotten out of it, pharmaceutical industry, blood, pharmaceutical industry, the hide. I tell people in the last 15 years, all my footwear have been made in Lagos. And when I go to Europe, where I used to live, especially during summer, boys make sure they take my footwear. Boys,
and you have to replace them.
I need to look at. Oh yeah, they're lovely.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. In addition to that, I mean, it is a well-known fact that Nigeria is the highest or largest producer of skin or leather in the world.
Historically,
what are we doing with that?
Historically, Moroccan leather. Historically, if you go just do a cursory research on the terminology Moroccan leather, they will trace it back to Sokoto for you historically.
Or even Kano.
So because of the sentiments of the time, Southerners don't even want to countenance anything but the truth be told, if we want to solve this problem, and I have not gotten to the political, I'm talking about the economy now. If we want to sustainably solve this problem, we must incentivize ranching like the incumbent government incentivized the production of rice. And in less than one political term, less than 4 years, we have reduced the importation of rice between 65% to 70%, reduced it, 65 to 70%. And it has helped us tremendously.
Billions of dollars.
Billions of dollars. Because of the Anchor program, and so we have to incentivize.
And states are producing right now. Collaboration between states too.
It's just that you make sure that you use it as an economic opportunity to empower your people. The Fulani others anyway, they take their stock anywhere nomadically. Just let them know that in your state, once you want to promulgate the anti-open grazing law, make sure you have provided a ranch with abattoir that you can add the others into. Now let's get to the political.
Which is a very, very dangerous dimension that all of this is taking. You hear on one hand, look, 16 states have accepted the so-called cattle colonies, Northern states, while the rest of the country are saying no, no, and that is because it has this political coloration.
And some, I don't know, some dodo head in the Federal Ministry of Agriculture had the temerity to go use the phraseology cattle colony.
we can even forgive
him. After saying that they had not done enough for the herdsmen. We can pardon him for
using that. He has tried over and over again to reassure those that have fears, those that have fears about cattle colonies, saying, look, this is another guise to take over our land and all of that.
Colony.
Colony. Well, so it's the word people have issue with. It's the word people have issue with. But the idea behind it, which you already explained, would you say that the federal government is not doing a good job, really, in selling this to the states?
The federal government is not doing a good job at all.
Many are saying that they see the federal government favoring herdsmen than other farmers.
The irony of it all is that the gentleman to whom we are putting the credit of the rice revolution, and who also, I believe, should know how to methodically go about, encouraging entrepreneurs to go into ranching. This gentleman is from Benue. The Minister of Agriculture, Audu-Ogbe. I wonder if he could go to Benue again because of the tepid political...
Isn't that in itself, doesn't that show that he had no ill intention in talking about cattle colonies? Because I doubt if he would want anybody to take over
as a public communicator, you know the importance of words.
Absolutely, but he's not a public communicator, which means somebody should be doing that job. There should have been some kind of brainstorming to say, look, what is the best way forward?
But the long and short of it...
Okay, now that they have made that mistake, is it time for the National Orientation Agency, for example, or the Information Ministry to close that gap and say, look, you Nigerians, you have been misunderstanding the whole idea behind this cattle colonies. This is exactly what government meant.
Fantastic. That's their primary, that should be the primary obligation of the Ministry of Information and National Orientation Agency. I hope they could do that well enough. But as at this juncture now, the federal government keeps scoring own goals. They keep scoring own goals against themselves. Not only in the bad choice of phraseology, but indeed in the bad choice of the manner of communication from the principal officer, the president, to the arrogant Minister of Defense, to indeed the seemingly insensitive Inspector General of Police. Bad body language, bad use of language.
And the implication of this really is what we are saying.
And you know what?
And the governor already has been credited saying that people should take up arms.
Even the governor has grown a bit, for my liking, has grown a bit irresponsible and a bit opportunistic in the ways handling this. I guess, in the last 1.5 to 2 years, we have had in the news how he could not pay salaries. We have had in the news how Benue, residents of Benue were getting disillusioned.
Okay,
and like all politicians, this came up.
Let's not get it twisted. As we're talking about Taraba State. Of course, you cannot help but talk about Benue while talking about what's happening in Taraba,
Benue, Plateau, parts of Kogi, irrespective of the fact that the governor of Kogi is trying to sell the snake oil by pretending as though they don't have the problem there. They have the problem as far down as Enugu State, as Ondo State, and as Oyo State.
All right, continue the trip till we get to Taraba. Now, don't stop at Kogi.
Oh,
that's the focus.
You are a Kogi woman.
I'm not. So, I'm just saying we shouldn't lose focus of our discussion.
No, the unfortunate this thing is that prior to the assumption of this government, we've had incidents, unfortunate carnages between farmers and others. Is that a fact?
Yes, that is a fact.
Indeed, before the enactment of the anti-open grazing law in Benue, under this administration, there were registered more than 40 incidents, fatal incidents of killings. So that is why, for me, the rationalization of the IG and indeed the arrogant Minister of Defense will not hold.
But
because they've been killing people.
Is it in any way?
And in Taraba.
Is it in any way reassuring that Mr. President Buhari, during his visit to Nasarawa, has used very strong words, saying those behind the herds, the Benue killings, the Taraba killings, and the rest of them will be apprehended and they will be prosecuted, and it will no longer be tolerated that herdsmen are armed? He
said that about 2 weeks ago. He said that about 1 month ago. He's becoming Olu. Okay. It's becoming Olu more so because those who are allegedly perpetrating the crime can be attached in a way to his personage.
But about 120 people are facing trial already. The killings in Benue State, about 145 have been arrested so far, according to the report on the papers today.
My sister, the reason why crime blooms in Nigeria is because of the porosity of our criminal justice system. Even in normal times, our criminal justice system is so compromised that the commencement of a trial, the commencement of a prosecution does not necessarily mean that the commencement of a prosecution does not necessarily mean
that it goes anywhere.
You are a beautiful woman. Yeah. Forget about that. The truth be told.
So you're saying, in other words, that it's just a smokescreen?
I am saying, in other words, that until they are convicted, people will still largely believe, not Balaba, people are not people who has new savvy as the two of you ladies, but majority of Nigerians will still largely believe that is a smokescreen. And apart from that, majority of Nigerians, I looked at the pictures of some of the people being prosecuted, and I said to myself, this is Balaba the cynical, Balaba the skeptical, and I said to myself, how can this guy afford to buy AK-47? So somebody must have bought that AK-47, somebody must have given it to these guys being prosecuted. Where are the barons?
And we have been told countless times that the herdsmen are not the owners of the cattle. They're not even the owners of the cattle.
Oh, yes. So you want to ask yourself, where are the barons?
All right. Big question indeed.
Very stimulating discussion there. Of course, we've heard from the presidency that climate change, foreigners are actually behind this Benue, Taraba killings and all the herdsmen killings across the country. But the question remains, are these the people who want to give colonies or ranches too? Balaba, we'll have to say
that was cheeky of you.
Thank you very much.
As usual.
Thank you very much.
Ranches.
We appreciate
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Your time.
Thank you.